Oh my, Brussels is running scared. Right after getting absolutely demolished by JD Vance at the Munich Security Conference, the European elites are now in full panic mode over the possibility of Călin Georgescu getting Trump's backing. The EU bigwigs were practically having nightmares about Georgescu making a comeback on the ballot in Bucharest. But instead of playing it cool, what do? They go full authoritarian and have the guy arrested. Classic Brussels overreach. Now Georgescu is locked up somewhere and nobody knows what's happening to him. Talk about a desperate move to silence someone before they can gain momentum. The European defenders of democracy showing their true colors when they are backed into a corner. But here's the kicker. If Brussels thinks Trump's just gonna shrug this off, they have learned absolutely nothing from the first term. Trump doesn't forget, and he sure as hell doesn't forgive when allies get targeted. Let's talk about what has happened first. Romania's political drama has kicked into high gear as prosecutors launched a criminal investigation into Călin Georgescu, the surprise far-right frontrunner from last year's cancelled presidential election. In a move raising eyebrows across Europe, authorities stopped Georgescu in Bucharest just as he was about to register his candidacy for the May election rerun. After hours of questioning, prosecutors announced they are investigating him for allegedly communicating false information, promoting war criminals, and forming an antisemitic organization. The timing couldn't be more suspicious. Polls show Georgescu holding a clear lead for the upcoming May 4th vote. Despite his campaign previously reporting zero spending, the initial presidential election was scrapped in December amid claims of Russian interference favoring Georgescu, allegations Moscow has flatly denied. I'm fighting the security system that wants us in slavery. Georgescu fired back on Facebook, calling the investigation heinous abuse aimed at stealing the election and blocking his candidacy. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the situation hasn't gone unnoticed. After VP JD Vance's confrontational appearance at the Munich Security Conference, Brussels officials are reportedly concerned about potential Trump administration support for nationalist candidates like Georgescu. Brussels and Kiev have good reason to be sweating bullets. With Georgescu surging in the polls, Romania could become their worst nightmare amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. The self-styled pro-Romanian candidate has been hitting all the right notes with voters while giving European elites a massive scare. His crime? Putting Romanian interests first, a radical concept in today's Brussels-dominated landscape. Georgescu's been blunt about NATO, calling out what he sees as its evolution from defensive alliance to offensive military machine. His questioning of Romania's involvement in the Ukraine conflict has clearly touched a nerve both at home and abroad, resonating with voters tired of following orders from Brussels without question. What makes European officials particularly nervous is Romania's strategic position. With the longest EU border with Ukraine, a Georgescu-led Romania could seriously complicate Kiev's Western support network. For a country already struggling to maintain international backing, having a skeptical neighbor would be yet another headache Ukraine does not need. If authorities allow Georgescu to run again, a big if, considering recent developments, polls suggest he is likely to win. The establishment's desperate maneuvers to block his candidacy only seem to be boosting his popularity, with many Romanians viewing him as a victim of political persecution. The Romanian authorities aren't taking any chances, having raided 47 addresses connected to Georgescu's associates, while investigating alleged campaign finance irregularities. Critics point out the contradiction of European institutions, lecturing about democratic values, while seemingly working to prevent a popular candidate from running. Georgescu, who has praised Romania's 1930s fascist leaders and expressed an admiration for Putin as a man who loves his country, represents exactly the type of nationalist political force EU leadership has been trying to contain. As the May election approaches, the question remains, will Georgescu be allowed to stand, or will Brussels get its way? Either outcome is likely to intensify the growing rift between European elites and populist movements, gaining traction across the world.